Circumstances don't matter, and we need to practice being non-reactive to them. Hey, I'm Dan. I talk about manifesting, conscious creation, intentional living. Thank you for joining me. And today I really want to go over the topic of circumstances because that's life, right? Life happens to us, events happen to us. There are so many circumstances out there, and oftentimes, or not oftentimes, I'm not going to declare that, sometimes they can become negative or what we perceive as negative. At the end of the day, nothing is really positive or negative. It's whatever meaning we assign to them. They are just simply events. But I get it. We are brought up in this society to view a lot of things as positive, it makes us feel good, and negative, that makes us feel bad, because we've assigned a particular meaning to them. Now, I want you to practice this, being non-reactive to them. Because when negative circumstances pop up and we react to them in a negative way, what we are doing is now we're thinking and feeling and embodying a particular state of being that is not enjoyable, that we're not feeling good, right? And when that happens, that's actually putting us typically in a state of being where we don't have the thing that we're trying to manifest or living the life that we want to live. And when that happens, it becomes a vicious cycle of trapping us in this negative feedback loop cycle that we do not want to be trapped in. You have to be aware of this. So the best way that I found is to not be reactive to these circumstances is simply to take a step back and be aware of our thoughts, be aware of our feelings, be aware of our ego. I'm going to make another video more in depth on the ego. But essentially what the ego is this identity that we put on ourselves that are all of our thoughts, all of our feelings, whatever we think and feel, how we perceive the world. A lot of these things is based in ego, the things that we don't want. A lot of times it's negative too. The purpose of the ego is really to try to keep us safe as well, and allow us to obviously experience 3D reality. Won't get into that right now, but in terms of the ego, it's very strong when negative circumstances pop up or we assign negative meaning to a particular event that we call negative circumstances. The best way I found to kind of be non-reactive to this is simply to take a step back, be aware, and say, oh, wait, okay, that's just the ego thinking. That's just the ego talking. That's not actually me. I'm aware of this. And once you get into a state of awareness, you are now able to say, okay, well, I'm going to choose a different state of being. I'm going to choose to assign a different meaning to that circumstance. It could be the same circumstance. It's like the glass half full and glass half empty analogy. Some people are optimists. Some people are pessimists, right? When you are saying, oh, the glass is half full, it's the same thing. It's still half full. The glass is half full. That is the event, right? Half full or half empty. It's filled halfway to the top. Okay, let's say it that way. The glass is filled halfway to the top. An optimist would say the glass is filled half full. Oh, wow, I have half of the glass. I have half a glass of water. That's wonderful, right? A pessimist would say, oh, the glass is half empty. I'm assigning negative meaning to it. I've already lost half of the glass of water, right? So you have to understand, this is basically a simple analogy that kind of applies to everything in life, is that how do we perceive the world? And oftentimes we perceive the world as what we typically assign a meaning to it negatively. And it can happen. Like sometimes in finances, we do really well. We see everything in a positive lens and things just work out for us. We're able to manifest finances really well and money really well. But in relationships, we always assign negative meaning to things, right? And so you can have different views depending on what area of life you are in. Anyways, back to how it applies and how we can be non-reactive. Just understand that all of these thoughts and feelings are of the ego. And you just have to take a step away from it. Be aware of that and know that, okay, that is the ego. That's not really me. I have the power to choose what meaning I assign to things. And I can be non-reactive to that. I will no longer be stuck in that negative cycle, that negative feedback loop. And once you break out of that cycle, guess what happens? You are now able to embody the state that has what you want. That circumstance that is in front of you no longer exists in that negative state because you have taken yourself out of that cycle and you are now embodying the state of being that circumstance would not even happen in the first place. And when you are in that place, guess what? That circumstance is eventually going to pass because everything is temporary. I have to make a video on that, but everything is really temporary and time is an illusion. But when that happens, the next thing that happens and the next thing that happens, you're going to be more non-reactive and non-reactive and non-reactive, right? And over time, those circumstances are simply just kind of disappear. And guess what's going to happen? The circumstances that you are currently embodying, remember, you're embodying the state of being that has what you want to manifest, that's living the life that you want to live. Those type of circumstances are going to start flooding in. Those circumstances that you're going to be assigning positive meaning to. Remember, you can assign positive meaning to everything, but we want to get into the habit of assigning positive meaning to everything. And you can be non-reactive. Even when you have a circumstance that is positive, you can still practice non-reaction. You can, of course, be present in the moment and enjoy those things that are being wonderful, that you really do enjoy. But as long as you're being aware of it, that's all you need to do to practice non-reaction. I'm just getting you to understand that when a circumstance happens, you don't need to react to it. And what's the best way to do that is basically being aware of your thoughts and feelings and separating yourself from it. And how you apply this to help you manifest is then from that state of being, choose the state of being that has what you want and step into that and just embody that and live as that and simply choose and decide. So that's how you get out of the trap of being stuck in circumstance feedback loop. That's how you get out of that trap. I hope this helps. Definitely, that's life. No one's going to be perfect. Sometimes people are going to react. You're going to react and you're going to catch yourself. What's the most important part is you catch yourself and then you practice this non-reaction state. You catch yourself again, you practice the non-reaction state. Don't beat yourself up if you get stuck in this feedback loop. As long as you are aware that you're stuck in the feedback loop, it breaks the matrix, right? It breaks the matrix in that moment. Because then when you are aware of it, you can simply choose to select something different. And when you've chosen to select something different, that is where you've broken out of the cycle. And that is when you started a new cycle of where you are in power. You are the creator. Remember, you have the power to choose what you want. You have the power to choose how you want to live. And that is powerful because once you are aware of that, you can start a new cycle, a positive feedback loop. Remember, this is negative feedback loop. That's why we want to be non-reactive to that. But if you can choose a positive feedback loop, do that. And then do that. Because then more of that is going to come in. And I hope this helps. Definitely next time you are in a circumstance that's unwanted, remember this, be non-reactive, and see your life change and unfold, and watch the manifestations flood in.